Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles. I think you should stop having sex with other people, Susan said. Oh, so you think it's time to stop our swinging ways and settle into a normal life? I asked. No. I wasn't talking about both of us. Susan said. What? Wait, let me get this straight. You want me to stop having sex with other women, but you want to keep having sex with other men? Pete asked. Yes, she said. You heard that right. My wife wants me to give up my privileges, but wants to keep hers. That is downright selfish. Well, she has always been selfish. Not always, but I guess she changed a year ago. Oh, my name is Peter Parker. No, I'm not Spider-Man. The only similarity we have is a very complicated relationship with women. I met Susan while I was doing my graduation. She was beautiful, tall, and her figure was something to just roll over. Initial interactions were not very fruitful, but over a period of time she opened up to me and we enjoyed each other's company. One fine day I asked her out and she was more than happy to say yes. We had dinner and I dropped her home. After the third date, I did not drop her home, but we spent the night at my place. 3 years later, I was working as an IT professional at a big IT firm and Susan was working at a marketing firm as a marketing expert. We moved in together and after another 2 years, we got married. Life was simple. Wake up, kiss your wife, go to office, work, back home, kiss wife, make love, and sleep. Occasional movie nights, dine-outs, and bi-yearly vacations. Life changed after the arrival of our son, Mark. His arrival meant Susan had to leave her job, and I had to start putting more time in office to bring in more money. It paid off. I got promoted and money was good. Susan started working again once Mark was 13. Mark grew up fast and once he was 18, he moved out. Looks like a very simple life, right? I guess it is the story of most of us. Here comes the twist. I was at home, on the big couch with my wife relaxing with me. Pete, we need to talk. These words have been used over and over during the history of mankind to screw the life of modern man. I'm not sure if the prehistoric man or the medieval had to face them, but the modern man, for sure. Sure, my love. What bothers you? No, nothing big, but I just wanted to have a discussion with you about our life. What about it? I asked. I'm not sure where it is going. We have a house. Financially we are stable. The kid is out creating his own life. It's just plain and simple. I'm not going to rob a bank to make it spicy. Stop joking. I am serious. I think our life is boring. The sex is the same. Not saying that it is bad, but it's just usual. The emotional bonding is great, but it's predictable. I want to experience more emotions. Some excitement and love. I am listening, I said. I was very eager to try new thing in bed. I think we should open our marriage and date others. My jaw dropped and for the next 10 seconds I could see my wife talk but all I could hear was a faint ringing sound in my ears. When I got back to my senses, I could see that she was still talking and I had missed whatever she had said. I heard her quietly and when she was done, she said, "What do you think?" I got up and went to the fridge and got myself a beer and came back and this time I sat opposite to her. I took a sip and spoke. When a husband and wife have issues, they talk and figure it out between themselves. They identify the problem and fix it. They get professional help in case the issues are complex. They do not involve other people outside of their marriage. If issues are sorted good, if they are not, they get separated and take their own paths. So my solution to your plain problem is that we go to a marriage counselor and get help. In case it does not work out, we get a divorce. I will not, and I repeat, I will not allow you, my lawfully wedded wife to sleep with other men, nor I, your lawfully wedded husband will be sleeping with other women. I hope that clear things for you. Pete, it's not that simple. I love you and just want to experiment with other people. There is nothing long-term here. I don't get it. Why are you being so selfish? I go out meet other people, maybe, have a good time, and then I come back to you. Susan, we have 2 people here. I want to abide by my vows and be faithful with you, you know, in health and sickness, till death do us apart thing. You on the other hand want to break them and sleep with other men. I'm not sure who is justified to be selfish. However, let me just remind you that once you leave the safety of your house, you will be exposed to people who just want to get in your pants. For then you will only be a piece of meat. They will simply pop and dump you. Susan knew I was right. She sat there silently and I knew she was about to blow up. You see, when you have been with someone for 23 years, you know how they think, how they react, and even how their farts smell. Deep down I knew this marriage is over and it's time to move on. I was just waiting for my wife to make it clear. I am doing this no matter what and I will not give you a divorce. I am a grown woman, I have raised a kid, so don't lecture me on birds and bees. If you stop me, I'll call the cops on you for domestic abuse. I knew that was not a threat. She will do that if I don't fall in line. So, like any normal logical human who wants to have his peace and freedom, I said the golden words. Okay, Susan, tomorrow evening we will discuss the terms of our open marriage. Till then you will remain faithful to me, and if you wonder during this time, I will give you a reason for calling 911. She was happy. I was, well, not happy but not sad. I called my buddy, Dusty, and set up a meeting with him. Next morning, before Susan was up, I left home. I went straight to Dusty. Dustin Grayson, a cruel divorce lawyer. He is known to take people to the cleaners, depends if he is on your side or not. Apparently, we have been tied since we were 5 years old. I sat down and told him, Susan wants an open marriage. He laughed and said, so you are now getting more women. I smiled and said, I did not think that way. I wanted my marriage to survive, but it is not to be. So, I need your help. How can I save everything I have invested in that house and my savings? Depends on how much she wants to get screwed out of the marriage. We had a 3-hour-long discussion and drafted a proposal for me. This is sort of a post-nup agreement. That should help you. If she wants it so bad, she will sign it. I hugged him and left for home. That evening I went home to drive the final nails on the coffin of our marriage and my love for Susan. As I entered the house, I found Susan eagerly waiting for me. Her eyes were sparkling with the anticipation of the discussion. I sat down with a beer and started. There are certain conditions that I want to discuss. 1. You will not bring any man in this house. 2. I will also be eligible for the open marriage. 3. No unprotected sex. That is for both of us. 4. You will sign a post-nup agreement. 5. We will not date anyone we know, no office colleagues or friends. Only fresh strangers. Her smile had vanished when I put out the 4th condition. What is that for? We are not getting divorced. She questioned. What you are planning to do is play a very dangerous game. What if you end up falling in love with one of your partners? What if I fall in love and want to move out? This will help both of us to move out safely. We divide the house 50-50. I keep my savings and you keep your savings, and we close the joint account at the time of separation and divide the money 50-50. So, no one loses. She sat there for a minute and then agreed. I placed the paper on the table and she sighed. It's done, the final nail hammered. It's time to bury the coffin. That night I slept in my bed and Elle knew the woman sleeping next to me will soon be on some other bed. That made me disgusted. The next thing I did was to start dating. I may not be young and handsome, but I had money. What else do you need? It did not take long before I found my dates. In fact, I was the first one to get a date. Susan was still struggling to get a date. A 49-year-old mother of one will find it difficult to get dates. It's a fact who wants to ride a car that has that many miles. So, every day I used to come home from my dates and I used to tell Susan about them. I knew she was jealous, but she could not say a word. Soon enough she got a date. She was very happy and dressed to the nine that evening. When she was back, she seemed to be a bit disappointed. I asked her what happened, love. Not what I expected. I was talking to him, but he was just on his phone. Am I ugly? I was silent. You see, I'm a very nice man. Nature is not nice, she is cruel. She will make you age, and with age your beauty fades away. She kept crying, and I left the room, informing her about not waiting for me. I'll be late. 5 days later, she had another date. She came home late that night. I knew that she was having sex that evening. Although I was sad, but I knew my marriage was over the day she threatened me with consequences. When she came back, I was sleeping. I did not meet to her for the next 2 days. I left early and came back late, after I knew she would be on her bed. The next morning, I saw her in the kitchen waiting for me. Her eyes red and swollen. It seems like she cried all night. I did not ask her anything and just proceeded to make a coffee. I sat down and started sipping on my coffee. She placed her phone on the table for me to see. You can pause and see the message. I saw the message and I had to control my laugh. I somehow got up and left the room. For the next 3 weeks, I kept on dating multiple women and Susan also got her share of dates and dicks. It was after 3 weeks that she confronted me in the kitchen. I think you should stop having sex with other people. Susan said. Oh, so you think it's time to stop our ways and settle into a normal life? I asked. No. I wasn't talking about both of us. What? Wait, let me get this straight. You want me to stop having sex with other women, but you want to keep having sex with other men? Yes. Well, that isn't going to happen, Susan. The only reason I ever agreed to let you have sex with other men in the first place was because you agreed to let me have sex with other women too. I've done quite a few dates with other women and you've had several guys. Now you tell me that you want me to stop having sex with other women altogether, but you want to keep having sex with other men? No way. No way, Susan. If you want both of us to give it up, that's fine, but there's no way that I'm going to sit at home every night while you go out to screw other men. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm not going to be the closed part of a halfway open marriage, I said. Susan was a bit shocked at my response. You've never enjoyed it very much anyway, Pete. It should be easy for you to quit. Susan said. Oh, I'm sure I absolutely love Susan. I love you, and only you, but now I want to feel loved by others. I have enjoyed most of the other women that I've been with. Just because you did not get your share of fun in this open marriage lifestyle, you want me to quit, but I'm not going to quit. Well, I'm not going to be a part of this stupid deal. I said. Pete, sweetie, can't you see how much I want this? Susan asked. Oh, I can see it all right, Susan, but newsflash. Not everything is about what you want. You want me to play the faithful husband, stay home, and wait for you with open arms to return screwed senseless. I don't think so, Pete said. Pete. Susan started. No, Susan. I said. Pete, I really think. Susan started. Susan, I have a question for you. Do you know when the last time we made love was? Susan has to think for a minute. Of course, I know. It was Tuesday. Susan said. You're partly right. It was on a Tuesday. It wasn't this last Tuesday, though. It was Tuesday 3 weeks ago. Since then, you've been out 2 times. I've been with just 7 women, and I loved it. Is that right? Has it really been 3 weeks? No. You must be mistaken, Pete. I'm not mistaken, Susan. It has been 3 weeks. You didn't realize that it's been that long because you've been busy just finding other men. Now you want me to stop having sex with other women altogether while you continue to screw whoever you want whenever you want? Well, Susan, I'm not going to sit around here waiting around for that. Oh, Pete, don't be silly. Who's being silly? I'm very serious, Susan. Hell, lately I've been thinking about getting more active in my pursuit of other women. I'm obviously not getting any sex at home, and it doesn't seem like you plan to quit or even cut back your activities with other guys, so I'm not likely to get any from my own wife anytime soon. So, I think I'm going to start having sex with more women. What do you think of that, Susan? I asked. Susan has tears in her eyes. No, you can't. Would you really do that to me? Susan asked. Do you? Do what to you, Susan? You wouldn't even notice that anything was different between us unless I told you. If I make sure that I'm home by 1 o'clock in the morning every night, I could be showered and sound asleep long before you even got home. You wouldn't have any idea about where I was or who I was with that night. Some nights I might have stayed home and other nights I might have had 2 or 3 girls. You wouldn't know unless I told you. No, Pete, I don't want that anymore. Susan said. Okay, Susan, since you do not want me to enjoy and have fun, I'll just walk out of the house forever. I picked up my bag and took out an envelope and handed it to Susan. Here, we are getting divorced. Susan got up and started shaking. Why are you doing this to me? Susan screamed. I sat down. You pushed me to open the marriage. You threatened me for dire consequences if I said no. You were happy to sign a post-nup to enjoy your ways, without even reading it completely. You were so happy when you had your first date. Now that you are not getting what you expected, you want me to stop. You know what, Susan? It's time to hit the road. I am leaving and would expect you to consult your lawyer. Don't forget to talk about your post-nup agreement. I walked out of the house. I had cleaned out the joint account, moved the money to my offshore account. The house has a mortgage, and I did not want any part of it, so I removed my name from it. So she only has the money that is in her account. I guess she will be fine as long as she has her job. Susan tried to contest the divorce, and the judge asked us to go to counseling. I did not want any part of it, but I was forced to be part of it. Susan explained the situation in details and how things did not work out for her. I mentioned how I had asked her to join counseling before opening our marriage. The counselor did mention that there is a possibility of reconciliation, but I was adamant for a divorce. The court did point out me being adamant, and I knew if there was no post-nup agreement, I would have been screwed out of my assets. It took 7 months of back and forth. Finally, I was free. My son throughout this had been no contact with either me or Susan. I know this was hard to see all of this, but he will understand over time. I have not been dating nor I have been looking for any date. I am only looking to live peacefully. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comment section below and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.